I'm Corbett Wall with USDA Market News, here with your weekly feeder and stocker cattle market summary for the week ending November the 15th, where you had steer and heifer calves selling $1 to $4 higher, and those under 500 pounds in several instances as much as $8 to $10 higher. Very light test of true yearling feeder cattle continuing fully steady. But the big news this week was a cold front, the Arctic front that moved down from the north and went a little further south than what a lot of folks expected for it to do. But I believe now most all your major cattle production areas, including most all of your southeast and all the way down into southern parts of Texas, have had a hard freeze, which that is going to stunt your grass, your annuals there, but it's going to help out on this cattle health here, especially on your new arrivals, as a lot of those airborne illnesses got wiped out. And it just seems like after you get a hard freeze, those new purchases of calves just don't have quite as much trouble getting straightened out. But and a lot of your calf buyers will wait till they get a hard freeze before they'll start buying their calves. So we might see a little boost in demand from that. But you did see most all of your country now has had a hard freeze, and we're moved into the winter time, and that's when cattle really perform well, is in the winter time. We've got a lot of hay in most places, a lot of feed for them, so we're in pretty good shape going into this winter. But $2 a pound is back to being a benchmark on your steer calf prices. And even down in the southeast, so I was down in Arkansas this week, and you saw that all of your steer calves, your better steer calves weighing under 5, $2 is where they start the bidding now. They don't grind around down in the $1.70s or $80s anymore. They start the bidding at $2, and either you get on right there, or basically the ring man that's starting the cattle will take them at the $2. But your orders for calves weighing under 5's got to be $2 and something if they're going to get anything bought. Now when you get to 500 pounds and over, it's real, you can sure catch it right there, because right at 500 pounds you start seeing that those steer calves won't quite bring $2 a pound. And if it's just human nature that you see, it's a little bit too easy to figure $2 a pound times 500 is $1,000 a head. And I think a lot of buying cattle in the auctions is human nature. If they start the cattle too cheap and you bid too many times, it's just human nature. You think they're getting too high. If contending bidder, breaks them to a dime and you have to bid too many times to get them there, you start thinking they're too high. And whenever you think in your head we've surpassed $1,000 for a little old calf, that gets in your mind too. But you didn't see a whole lot of cattle weighing in the 5s bringing over $2 a pound till you got up in the northern plains and you start seeing those big strings of ranch calves coming in, and you start seeing some of the light 5 weights bringing up over $2 a pound. But really, for the most part, not too many of them. In Valentine, Nebraska, they did have a load of fancy steers weighed 511 pounds, bring $213, but that was kind of an extreme high, and you did see a few other places up there where the range went over $2, but on the average, they was mostly down in the 190s and below. But we've gotten past October and early November. That's the point where you see a lot of these calves moving, and that is major for your fall calf market, because we've made it through, and not just in the sales, but all those big summer videos you had, all the country cattle that sell, they mostly all deliver in October and into early November. We've made it through that, and those feedlots and growing yards are full of those calves, and still there seems to be good demand, which speaks well for your feeder markets, your stocker and feeder cattle going on into winter time. But we made it through that. It still looks like your calf markets could get higher now, because our runs are going to start winding down now. Not as many cattle being delivered out of the country, and your auction receipts are going to be tighter and smaller, and we're starting to get into the holidays. We're not going to be having sales every week. Got Thanksgiving coming up, and then it's just going to start winding down, which is bodes well for your markets, because it looks like we still got some ways to go. Harvest is starting to wind down also, and as it winds down and we're at a 3-year low on our corn market, you're starting to see more and more of these farmer feeders in the Midwest starting to decide that maybe they want to feed some of their corn and walk it to town, as they say, rather than just sell their corn. But whenever those farmer feeders come in, you don't really, especially right now, you're not seeing these bigger feedlots really battle them too much. They're going to make sure they have to give all their worth, but these feedlots are full of those calves they've been taking delivery of and been buying all fall. So these farmer feeders are going to come in and pluck what they want, and then they'll get up and go on home. But we've also are seeing an unprecedented percentage of available feeders being set aside for replacements. We've probably kept this many replacements before in the fall of the year, but maybe not as large a percentage of what feeders are available. Just everywhere you see all across the country, you're seeing a lot of heifers being kept back. Some of them are taking up space in a feedlot, but they're not going to be placed on the fed market. So that could be another thing that bodes well for the market going down the road. In Woodward, Oklahoma, on Tuesday, the Northwest Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association every year has a bred cow and pair sale there, and they had one Tuesday, and just goes to show you, and that part of Oklahoma, which is not an oasis by any means, but the demand for these replacement stock, the better quality stuff, is really high. Bred heifers sold from $1,800 to $2,250. Young bred cows up to $2,500, those that have already had a calf. And young pairs selling from $2,700 to $3,000 a pair. And who knows how high they could get early next spring, just depending on what kind of winter we have. But fat cattle, the Southern Plains, they sold $1 higher, back up to $132 this week. Northern feedlots are having a hard time agreeing on what to sell theirs at. They were still passing steady bids late Friday. Regional weighted averages this week in the north central states, a 7 to 800 pound steer cost you $169.30 compared to $168.89 last week and $145.87 a year ago. Down in the south central states, a 5 to 6 weight steer, $177.51 compared to $178.46 last week and $155.79 a year ago. Down in the southeast, a 4 to 5 weight steer, $180.76 compared to $179.10 last week and $152.89 a year ago. That wraps up your feeder and stocker cattle market summary for this week. Check out our website for more market information at marketnews.usda.gov, and from the Regional Market News Office in St. Joe, Missouri. We'll talk to you next week.